meeting is being recorded.
Right. So good evening, everyone. My name is Ola, and I'll be taking tonight's session. So just a quick note about myself. I've been a software developer / QA for about 5 years now, but majoring on QA for over 2 years. So, and for this course, we'll just be going to introduction to software testing, where you can learn by the end of the day, it's like at least you have majority of the knowledge you need for manual testing and partially automation. So I'm going to share my screen now so we can start and we can finish on time. Thank you. Right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. So for tonight's section, we'll be doing a simple introduction to software testing. And right. So what is software testing? Right. But before going to what is software testing, let's take a look at what software is. So before I define what software is, I believe everyone here is using a smartphone or a PC or laptop. So, and if you don't have one, please, for this course, you would need to have one, right? Because of the automation testing and even for your manual testing, right? So software is just what can be run in an hardware. So that's what software is. It's something that you cannot touch or feel, but you can see. So, and hardware is just the physical part of the device. So that's where you get your RAM, your CPU, your monitor. So those are hardware. But for your software, those are the applications you run on your phone or your devices. So what is software? What is testing? So testing is just like if they give you test in an examination. So you just to see how well you know the course or how well you understand that subject. So adding both of them together, running an application and testing. So how well does the application perform? So you could say software testing is how well an application can perform, how good an application is. So that's just a simple note of what testing is, and that's what testing entails. So software testing is the process of evaluating a software application to identify any errors, gap, or missing requirements, and you compare it to the expected results. Right. So it's process of evaluating. So the evaluating there is the key point, is the main goal of the testing. So we're evaluating it to identify errors, gap, and missing requirements. So more on errors later, but the error is just like a human mistake. So as human being or as developer, our developer can make mistakes. So that is for the error. So gap or missing requirement is from the BA or from the product owner. So for instance, they can tell you that, okay, do test or they can just write it in their requirement that test a login page, but they don't give you more information. So that also needs to be tested. So as you proceed in the course, you understand how to identify missing requirements in order for you to be a better tester. So, and you compare it to the expected results. So another thing about testing is it ensures the application works as intended. It ensures application is reliable and secure, and it ensures that application meets both business and technical requirements. So from the first point, to ensure an application works as intended. So for instance, this PowerPoint app, if I were to test it, or if I was working on it, and I open the PowerPoint and it doesn't open. So that is a bug. So it doesn't work as expected, and I would have to report it to the developer. Right. So it's reliable and secure. So let's say our bank application. So that is the transfer of money or maybe the security. So for instance, if our phone got stolen, some people can just, like, I don't know, maybe some bank in the early days when bank and smartphone were just created, banking application were created. So it was very, very easy for you to hack or not even hack. You don't even need much of technical knowledge before you can unput the phone because of the lack tester. You can just, once you open the phone, you can have access to the person personal ID or personal information and the money, so which is very, very critical or important. So but if people were constantly testing the application for security vulnerabilities, then I think we'll be able to like minimize damage caused by security vulnerabilities. So though there are cyber security that tests security, but as a tester is also one of our ability or one of our responsibility to test security. So for instance, like a login page. So in our practical session, I'll show you how to test a login page or a registration page. So we'll see how that is done. But we ensure that, for instance, a password must be, maybe it shouldn't be like a common password sequence like 123 password one. So as a tester, that is your job, that you must test it that the user, if the user put password 123, then you can say, oh, this has been breached. You need to change your password to something unique. You need to add um unique number. You need to add more letters for it to be more than 6. So if so that's one of your responsibilities. So the security and reliability of the software. So and also ensure that it meets both business and technical requirements. So the business and technical requirement part is just, are you doing what your client asks you to do? Are you, just like, for instance, now if they ask you to test a login page, though the login page may work fine, may pass the security test, may be reliable, but it may not be the same thing. For instance, it should have an image, or it shouldn't have an image. So that if it has an image and your business owner tells you that, oh, this thing shouldn't have an image, and you say it's passed, that, or and developer puts the image there, then that is a bug. You need to tell the developer that, okay, there shouldn't be an image, it should just be a plain screen. So I hope that is clear. So testers are quality guardians who prevent bug from reaching real user. But I'll say this, as human, we're also testing. The developer also tests. So nothing is 100% free of bug. So, but we can just have a certain percentage. Okay, it is 90% bug free. That's just it. But nothing is free of bug, because in the world of security, something they call 0 day, which means that a vulnerability that has not existed before just came up because someone was finding vulnerability in the application. But that is for the cybersecurity guys. 0 day test, 0 day. So what are the objectives of testing? So according to the ISTQB, there are mainly 7 objectives of testing. So the first one is to detect defects. So as a tester, you should be able to identify bugs or error in software. So as once you see the error, the first thing you should do is for you to ensure that you report it and you raise a bug for it. So you learn how to raise a bug in the course. So and that thing again is to ensure quality. So you validate that software meets quality standard. I've explained earlier. Then another objective of software testing is to verify functionality. So you ensure the application behaves as expected. Another objective of software testing is to enhance security. So you identify vulnerabilities and security flaws. And another one is again to improve user experience, to ensure that application is user friendly. I don't know about you, but sometimes you get to some websites, they'll look like they are from the 1950, and you look at some websites, you'll be like, wow, this is more modern than each other. So as a tester, it's also your work to tell them that, okay, you know what, I don't feel this text is legible enough. I suggest that we should change this font size from 11 to 16 in order to meet the web standard guideline, because um, there's web standard guideline for mobile for text, and there's also mobile standard guideline for mobile devices, that's Android and iOS. So you ensure that it is user friendly because you are testing from the user perspective. So remember that you are testing from the user perspective. Any action the user may take or may not, as a tester, you are to test them. So there so what are the type of testing? So there are multiple types of testing, but the first one is going to be manual testing or static testing. So in manual or static testing, you you write your test case and you test them manually without automation tool. So you are not testing them with automation. There is no use of tool which you are going to do. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So you're going to write your test case and you execute them manually. You have your expected result and you have your actual result. So you compare your expected result to your actual results when it comes to manual testing. Same thing that is what's going to happen with automation, but you would use code. You'll be writing, be it JavaScript or TypeScript or Java or C Sharp. So you write it in a programming language, which is going to be interpreted and it's going to be executed by the browser. So for automation testing, testers use script and tools to automate test cases, and there are multiple tools that we're going to use. So in order to achieve testing and be 100% sure of what we've done, so before we put it in UAT for the BA to test. So another type of testing we have is functional testing. So you validate that the software meets the functional requirement. So for instance, can I, for using this PowerPoint as an example, can I open the PowerPoint? Okay, that's fine, it passed. Can I switch between slides during the slideshow? Yes, it's passed. So those are functional requirements, things that you can do. But for non-functional requirements, they are not things that are really visible. So the first one is performance. I don't know about you, but there's sometimes that you open a website, the website will be very, very slow, or an application on your phone that's going to be very, very slow to load. That can be an issue of performance, right? So maybe there was no tester to do performance testing, or maybe performance testing was not one of their criteria or required criteria. So that's why it is lacking in performance. And that thing again is usability. So how well can you use it? So is it user friendly? Is it very hard to navigate? So those are things that you also need to test for. So another one is reliability. We also have security testing, right? So these are non-functional testing. They are not something that the user can notice. Okay, for instance, now the user may not know if the application is secure. It's your job as a tester to tell them that, okay, you know what, I'm not 100% sure this is secure. I would like if we look at it together. You can look at the code that the developer have done if you are very, very good in programming. So you can look at it and then, okay, you can identify bugs using static testing or manual testing. So by the time this is not doing the expected thing, and you tell, okay, you can change it. You can even give suggestions once you are very good. So there's no limit to what you can do as a tester. So another one is user acceptance testing. So this is just to confirm if the software works as expected for end users. So similar to usability testing. So but for the user acceptance testing, it goes two ways, right? If you are in a small team, the first way is going to go is that You will do the majority of the testing, that is the automation and the functional and slash non-functional. Why the BA or the product owner is going to be doing the UAT, that is the user acceptance testing. So because it is the reason why the developer tests their code, but there's a reason why they still require tester, which is an additional eyes, because they can believe that, oh, my code is running now, it should be fine, which they may not test. They may not test negative cases or negative scenario, which may end up causing bug in production or may not work as expected. So, but for the UAT tester, we can't test again unless we're in a large team where, okay, a tester will focus on functional, another tester will focus on non-functional testing, another one is going to focus on UAT testing. So, but for a small company, the BA, that is business analyst, the product owner, PO, actually does majority of the UAT, or even the Scrum Master does the UAT. So so um so what is software testing lifecycle? So software testing lifecycle is just how we test, in what sequence we test. So because we can't just test randomly, testing has stages that it must go through, because it needs to go in order. And we start with requirement analysis. So we need to understand what is being tested. Then the next one is going to be test planning. So we define strategy, scope, and resources. So for instance, in our test planning, what tools are we going to be using? So that's going to be discussed among the team. Because for instance, if I know C# and you know Java, and we're in the same team, we need to come to a point that, okay, this is what we're going to be using for the automation. Okay, we can't just start testing individually because we're working as a team. So we need to learn how to collaborate with each other. So another thing again, the next step is going to be test case design. So we need to develop our test case based on the requirements. So as the developer is developing, we can be defining our test case. And then the next one is going to be test execution, which people believe it is testing. But as you can see, we've defined the requirements, we've planned, we've written our test case. So execution is what a lot of the stakeholders. There is that. Okay. So test execution is where most majority of the stakeholders are focused on that. Have we run our test? How many tests have we run today? But for a tester, this life cycle is actually very, very important in order to achieve the optimal results for testing. So but the next one is going to be defect reporting. So once you run your test, you are going to have a result. Okay, so that result, you as a tester, is your job to actually classify them. Okay, this is a bug, this is not a bug, this is from me. Maybe the selector is not working properly. So if the selector is not working properly, you can't call it a bug. So that is why for automation, you need to check your bug again before you report your bug. That is why even if you are going to be doing automation, you still have to do manual. So manual is very, very important. One of the only advantage of automation is automation save time when you are running multiple tests like regression testing and retesting. So that is when automation save time. Or if you want to run it automatically in the pipeline. So those are cases where manually is going to be tedious and automation is going to pay off. But generally, once you can't just you cannot class your defect um, as something that failed. You have to check it before you proceed. So the next step is going to be test closure. So that is where we finish in a report. So I'll show you how to generate a proper report, right? So you put how the testing went and what we learn for the next and what you learn for the next project. But this is not normally done, because if you are working in a company, right, the company don't tend to close down the project. The company just continue. For instance, if I am, maybe it is my company that made Microsoft Edge. That is the only product I have. So if you as a tester you join us, you are probably not going to do a test closure because I'm not selling this product out. It is my product. You're only come to test it. You're only come to give me assurance that, oh, this is going to work as expected. You're just trying to boost the confidence that, oh, this software is 100%. It's not 100%. It's 99.9% sure that it won't fail in production, and I can sell it for end user. I can make it. I'm not selling it like selling, but like in subscription based selling for end user to use. Okay. So for that, people don't really do test closure, but I will show you how to do test closure, how to write your report and things like that. Okay, next thing. So what are the importance of software testing? So it ensures reliability. So software works in real world condition. Yeah, because that's one of the whole aim of software testing. Can it work as expected in real life situation? So it also prevents costly error. So defects detected early reduce cost and rework. So this goes two ways. Number one, if in the UK there's something they call GDPR, something like that. So if maybe I am a bank and I got breached maybe because of my security was not good enough, and user details were being shared, even if it's not money, just user details, right? I have to pay the government, is it 4 billion? Or if I am a very, very big company like Google, Amazon, I have to pay 4% of my capital, or I've forgotten how it goes about it, but it's a very, very huge amount of money. So you don't want your company to pay that huge amount of money. If not, all of you are fired. So another way it goes is sometimes that because of some vulnerability, or if a software is not properly written, the developer may require more time or more money to rewrite the software. For instance, if a software is written in a program language, but a program language is no more being updated by the developer of the program language, right? And maybe it's already having vulnerability issues, and the manager would have to like provide money and resources another developer so they can rewrite the software again. So it is, you save time, you also save money. You don't want to repeat the same thing over and over again just because there was no tester or just because you can't test properly, right? It also enhances security, so it protects against security threats. You can do it using static testing, you can do functional testing, right? So those are ways you can test for security. So you can say, okay, if I log out, do I actually log out? If I log in, is my password being encrypted? So those are security testing. Is it encrypted or is it being exposed in the client or the server side? So, but you don't need to worry too much about those ones. Those are very, very advanced cases. The next one is test execution. So you run test cases and you record results. So with the help of automation tools, we can easily generate our report, which is going to be very, very comprehensive, and you can send to any product owner. Since we'll be using the BDD, which is behavioral driven development, to write our test cases, and I'll say it's even the recommended way of writing your test cases. And lastly, it improves customer satisfaction. So software testing ensures a smooth user experience. Like I said, you don't want to release software that is going to be laggy, like it's going to be wasting time just to load or just to open a web page. So you try to make things as easy as possible or as good as possible for the end users. Next one. So career opportunities in software testing. So you may be wondering, oh, if I work as a software tester, what can I do? Which company is going to allow me? Which company is going to employ me? So any IT company, you can work there, right? Bank, they don't want to lose their money. They don't want to lose their customer. They don't want to get hacked. So obviously, banks takes in tester. Startup, early startup, startup company takes tester, but it's just few. It can just be the only tester in the whole startup, and they may have like 3 or 4 developers, but you'll be the only tester. That's just the downside of startup, but they do take in tester. E-commerce application like eBay, Amazon, yes, they do take in tester, right? Gaming, so there's some in type of in careers, so you can go into gaming test you can go into gaming industry, so you can test games, so because of security vulnerabilities. Some people do hack game, so as a tester you need to test that this game cannot be hacked. Like I said, nothing 100%, but the majority of the security flaws, as a tester you need to ensure that it is being fixed by testing. So you can only tell the developer that okay, you need to test this part, you need to rework this part, you need to rewrite this part of the software, but you can't do it yourself. It is not your job. You only need to tell it, tell your him or her by like um giving suggestion or reporting to your test manager, and because there can be issue between you and your developer. It goes like that. So another place is healthcare. So any place that you deal with user data, be it healthcare, government, you need a tester. You don't want to pay the 4 billion to the UK, okay, and even paying that 4 billion to the UK, you will still lose your customer because your customer won't trust you anymore. So because no one, imagine if my bank got hacked, obviously, even if I don't, even if they've taken my money, or even if I'm still able to recover my money, right, I will still go away from that bank. I don't trust them anymore, because if they can do it today, that means maybe tomorrow and that person too can do it. Because I don't know if it's going to be fixed as the end user. So this is from the end user point of view. I don't know if the vulnerability has been fixed. So anywhere there's going to be user data being handled, tester is very, very much required, and in fact in large. So and in AI and ML project, so AI is a new field, though it has been existing for a long time, but it's just a new field now. So a lot of people use AI, ChatGPT one way or the other. So they also take use of tester. They also make use of someone that will test their product. So the tools and the software and the tools tester use so include Selenium, JUnit, Selenium for web testing, JUnit for performance testing. TestNG is like a test runner anyway. So that's for Java. Then Jira. So Jira is your um like a project management tool. Then Postman for API testing, Cypress similar to Selenium for web testing, and Playwright you can use it for both web testing and API testing. So now, as a tester, you work with diverse applications. In fact, you also work with diverse tools. So one of the key ability that I'll tell you that you need to learn is ability to learn quickly. You need to be curious as a tester. So tester will work with different software applications. So you test web, you test embedded, you also test finance application, though it can be internal application that can be between staffs, so you have to test it. On that thing again, you test is going to be databases. So database that handle millions of data or millions of requests per. So if there's a security vulnerability in, let's say, Oracle database that holds maybe my data, and it got breached, that is the work of, that is the failure of the security, that is the cyber securities, and the tester and the developer. So those three are to be responsible for it. Okay, because those are the three that are involved in security. So the cyber security is the main security guy, but the developer is the one that created the software, and the tester, he also tested the software before passing it on to the cyber security. So another one again you need to test is API. So API is uh, just an interface or a means of communication between server and client. So it means application programming interface. So it's just like a means of communication between, it's like an intermediary between server and client. So server and client in a nutshell is just like if you connect your phone to the internet, right? Or your phone is the client, right? What you are receiving, what you are downloading from, maybe you are downloading from maybe from, I don't know, somewhere online. So that online is being served by a computer. So that computer is your server. And if you are uploading and someone is downloading from you, okay, you are the server, the person is the client. So the means of communication is using an API, right? So that's just a little bit about API. Then you also test web and mobile applications. So you test web, but this course mainly focuses on web, right? So you test web application because one, there are more, it's way easy to test web application, okay? Two, there are a lot of jobs for web application compared to mobile application. So mobile application is a niche environment. So and we don't want you to just go into the job market and like, oh, why is there few mobile testing? So that's why web is very important for you to know, even as a tester. So you can decide to now move to mobile later on, but web first. So moving on. So this is the average software salary for tester. So as you can see, the top earners 127, right? 75 percentile 109. Average is 90 and 25% is 69. So and this is for the US. So but for the UK salary is way lower than the US. So that just keep that in mind. So but the average in the UK, right, is 40,000 for um for about mid-level, and it also depends on your company, the company you, for instance, if you are working in a startup, expect to earn less compared to someone in a very big company like Google or Amazon. So if you are in Google or Amazon, right, you're going to be paying over 100k in a year in pound, or in Meta or slash Facebook, you're going to be pay over 100k in a year. But if you are working in a startup, you can be seeing like 40,000, 35, which is pretty high compared to other low skilled job. And the fun fact, you don't really need to have a computer science degree before you get a job, unless you want to have masters, or unless you want to like do something else or go into research field. So that's when you need like a master's or PhD. But generally, once you get your certificates, once you have a very good training, then you are good to go as a tester. Right. Next one. So what skills are needed to be a tester? So the first one is for your technical skills. So some of them are just test design. So how can you write your test cases for your automation? Can you write your test scripts properly? Is your code scalable? Are you using the right? Are you writing the right way? Because there are wrong way to write your test cases and there are right way to write your test cases or test scripts, as the case may be. Then SQL. So you don't per se need SQL unless you are looking for a senior or a very more senior role. SQL is very simple, but a lot of people think it's very difficult to wrap your head around. API is a very very simple concept. So things get easier with time as you become a better tester. So don't mind when I say it's very easy. So and you need to learn a lot of tools because why, the world of AI, and so more on AI later on. Then the next one is going to be soft skills. So you need attention to detail. So because if your developer make a mistake, so if someone writes login and the person put, rather than I, the person put L in the login, so that is a bug. Though it is not a very high priority bug because it's not something that one may really um it's not something that you can really, oh okay, this is login. You may even just put your username and password without knowing that there is the I, it is L, not, so it is L not I that is in there. So attention to detail is very very important, and I'll say is the most important part in the soft skills. So the next one is critical thinking. So critical thinking comes in different forms. So the first one, it can be like, oh, your automation. Can you think? How can you automate this website? Oh, this website, a lot of, oh, there's a lot of you don't want to repeat yourself. So what can I do to ensure that I'm writing clean software? Because when you're writing, you're not writing for yourself, right? You're also writing for your developer to look, and also the other tester. that are going to read your course. So that is for critical thinking. The next one is communication. So as a tester, one of the key skills you need is communication. How can you communicate your thoughts? Okay, this is what I'm thinking about. What can you need to tell them, okay, this is a bug. You see, some people are scared of their developer because they don't want issues with their developer. But as a tester, you need to be able to voice out that, oh, this is a bug. Um, you need to show them video images that, okay, this is a bug, because you are there to do your job. Fine, if you can avoid enemies, avoid enemy. But trust me, tester and developer are like cat and rat. So they tend to like, oh, go back and do it, this and that. So communication is very, very important. So you need to learn how to communicate with your developer. Oh, this is a bug. I want you to fix it. Because some developer will tell you that, oh, they don't like when you raise bug. Because when you raise bug for the developer, they'll start questioning the developer that, why are you raising a bug? So why is there a bug? I thought you run your test from inside. So why is the tester seeing a bug? So developer can get offended that way. For more on communication later on. So the next one is collaboration. So more like a sibling to communication. So how well can you work with other people? How well can you work with your teammates? Can you brainstorm together with people? So those are collaboration skills. Then the problem solving mindset. So this is also very important. You need to be able to solve problems. So the problems can come in different ways. It can come in like, it can be a mediator your between one of your fellow tester and a developer. So you can, oh, how can I resolve the conflict? Because it's also one of the soft skills you need to learn, how to resolve conflicts. And that one can be, oh, how can I've never tested this website before. Okay, how can I test a website like this? What are the expected results? So you need to have the ability, or you have to have a mindset to solve problems. So who can be a tester? Right, so anyone curious, detail oriented, and analytical. That is, can be a graduate from CS, that's computer science, IT, or information technology, business, and even non-IT background with training. Yeah, can be a tester. So as long as you are willing to learn, and that's just all it takes, and you are dedicated. So if you're going to be joining the course, so what are you going to gain, or what are you going to learn? So the first thing is going to be requirement analysis. So you learn how to dissect the requirements. So you understand requirements, you will be able to, okay, this requirement is missing, we need more information. And with little information, you'll be able to infer large. So it goes both ways. So you'll be able to, you understand test planning, you understand how test planning works. Then you would also be able to design test cases, and you'll be able to set up your test environment. This is very, very important if you are joining a new company and you are the first tester. You need to be able to set up your test environment for other testers to use. But more on that later. So you need to be able to run and execute your test. You also need to be able to like write proper defect reports. So you need to learn how to write a bug. Okay. So you also learn automation testing, so which is hands-on tools. So you learn from the program language up to how to use the tool. So you're not just learning the tools alone, you're also learning the program language. So in case you want to transition to being a developer, or in the future, the skills you learn here as a tester or in BlueSky is going to be helpful wherever you go in the IT world. So collaboration and documentation. So you also learn how to collaborate with people, because you'll be working in teams. You learn how to communicate properly with your PO, PL, product owner, business analyst, developer. So you communicate with them, and you will know how to write a professional documentation. And so for bonus, you also have your CV reviewed in case you are looking for a job, or if you are not currently looking for a job. So we also have guidance on your career. Maybe you fit to be a tester. Maybe you want to specialize. Maybe, oh, I feel mobile testing is for me. Maybe I feel performance testing is for me, because there are different type of testing that you can decide to delve into. Okay, so test report and documentation. Then you also learn how to use AI in testing. So AI is the new guy. Okay, so with AI, a lot of companies are betting should we taking tester, but I'll just share a simple short story. So there was this guy on Twitter. So he posted that he has made 70K in a month by using a AI built application. So that is a SaaS. So SaaS is software as a service. So he's just selling his services, like maybe like an AI related service. So but there was a security vulnerability in that software. So the guy lost over $100,000 in a month when he told people that he used AI to build the software. Why? AI is not perfect. So if you are using ChatGPT or any AI related to, they'll tell you, oh, ChatGPT can make mistake, which is true. So if you are wondering that, oh, as a tester in this AI field, will I still get employed? Yes, you will get employed because a lot of people are trying to create jobs for themselves, and those jobs are built on AI rubbish code, which was trained on beginners data. So you need to test those code in order for it to be um, production ready. So, but they may ask you to use AI in your company. So you will learn how to use AI. You learn how to use Copilot to refine your test cases, to design your test scripts. So more on that later. So any question before we go into the practical session? Do you have any question, please, before we go into the practical section? All right. In the absence of question, I would. Oh, sorry. All right. So this is the practical session. So this is the simple site for testing. So in what you are going to be using, it's going to be a little bit more complex than this. So this is very easy to go on. So one of the type of testing is going to be experience-based testing, right? So that is just for you to look at the website and okay, oh, sorry, okay, this is about us, this is pages. Oh, you could come back and this page is very very tiny. Like you could say, oh, this is tiny. Can we increase the font size to ABC font size? So that is left to you. The PO can say no, this is the required or this is the recommended font size. That the people who are targeting are not people that have issue with their eyes. So, but you could argue that this is tiny. Okay, so that is for kind of like experience-based testing. So it's just using your previous knowledge for you to test. This home page. Oh, okay, I've seen it. So you could say, why is this add button? Why is it a little bit squashed together? So you could say, this is a typography issue. So that is just experience-based testing. It's based on your previous knowledge. Okay, so I'm not expecting us to do, and we're not doing experience-based testing because you have no knowledge of testing itself. So I would say that this is your first testing session. So bear with me. Right, so this is what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be testing. We're going to be testing our demo site for this. I'm going to be testing our login. So since we're going to be using manual testing, we're also going to be using the BDD framework to actually run our tests. Okay. First things, I'm going to create a blank. So you can open Excel in case you have Excel, or you can just follow along. Then watch the video, and you can do it later on, maybe tonight or tomorrow. So I'm going to open a new blank Excel sheet. Okay. So now, so I will say there are different ways you can do your Excel sheets. Sorry, let me increase the font size. So hope my screen is clear. So there are different ways you can do your Excel sheets. Okay. So this is just one way. So you can see different template online. Like I said, there is no one fit all method when it comes to testing. There's just a right way of you doing it, but it's not that it must have expert. The only few things that it must be that must be a must, but many things can be your taste or your test manager, in case you have one, or your maybe head of development, in case you have one. So now I want us to look at it. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to write Windows test case. Sorry, sorry. So this is can be an ID. So I'll explain what the headings are, and this is going to be test case. Okay, it's going to be a little bit long, and this is going to be this is going to be so this is just a simple way of writing it. So what is our ID? So in Azure, so once you write your test case, okay, or if a BA, that is your business analyst, create a story, so it comes with a auto-generated ID which is unique. Okay, so the ID is what you're going to input here. So and sometimes your test lead can also tell you that, oh, you see this 101, it should be a link. So this 102, I mean, it should be a link. Maybe it is E102. So it should be a link that can link to the Azure repository. Okay. So your test case now, or sometimes you may see it as expected results. You can see it as kind of like your expected result or thereabout. And this is actual result, and this is test status. So the expected or your test case is what you're going to write now. I'm going to show you how to write. So the actual result is what you saw. Okay, so this is what you saw. Since we don't have a ID, we're going to use test title. Let's say this is it, or login page. So we're testing the login page. So we're testing the login page. So what is the test case? Now, for the test case of the login page, I hope you're there. So let's analyze it together. I'll go back to browser. So now, the first thing when you open the link, right, you're going to see this page, right? Once you navigate, once you open the link, you should see these are the expected results, right? So you should see something like this, something like this, something like this. So you could say that given I navigate, so we're going to be using the BDD. Before we are going to the test case, I would talk about BDD. So BDD is just behavioral driven development. So it makes use of Gherkin syntax for writing your test cases. So and it because of we are using Gherkin syntax, which is English like, not program this time around. So it allows easy collaboration between technical stakeholders and non-technical stakeholders. So the technical stakeholders are the developer, the we the tester. So we are the main or the primary technical stakeholders. Why the non-technical include your scrum master, your PA. So those are the non-technical stakeholders. They may be like, okay, we want to be involved in your test cases. So what have you been doing so far? Because you may have to demo one day or one day that, oh, I want to demo what I've been testing. You can't just keep testing and testing. You have to demo, okay, this is what I've done so far. They may ask you for a presentation. They may ask you to demo your test itself. So it's up to the company to decide. So now, and the gherkin make use of 3 or 4 main or core syntax, which is given, when, then, and that. So given, when, then, and that. So I'll just quickly explain what they are. So given is just our preconditions. So precondition is what should have happened before any action. So those are our preconditions. So the next one is when. When are the action we take? You could score when like our verb. Then is our conclusion or our result or our expected results. Or what should happen once, for instance, the login now. So what should happen once we log in, once we click on the login button. So, and the and is just to join them together. For instance, if you have multiple given statements, you have to use and, rather than putting given I, a given I. So you just given I and I. So you just for it for continuity. Then the when and the and. So similarly, so rather than putting when, you just put when I do this and I do this. Then the next one is then. So similarly, so you can have multiple validation. So the then is for the validation. So you can have multiple validation. Then is for validation, right? When is for your actions, and given is your preconditions. So the first thing now is the first thing before you do the website is, can we get to the website itself? So back to the link. So this is the link. So once I click on this link, do I get to the website? So the answer is yes. So now I would come back and write. So I'll delete this off. Right? Given I navigate to the so given I navigate to the login page. So that is by clicking on the link. So there are multiple ways to navigate to the login page, right? So this is just one way. So that is why you have multiple scenarios as a tester. So this is just one scenario I'm going to be touching, but you're going to have multiple scenarios. Maybe, can you navigate from this sign up page to the login page? Can you navigate from the login page to the sign up page? So those are scenarios you need to test as a tester. So so that is the first step we did, right? So this is a given step. So this is our condition. This is our precondition. So next one is, so since we're already on the login page, so what can we say? How do we know on the login page? So what are signs that we see that are on the login page? So we could say that we can see a login text. So even I navigate to the login page. So the next one is going to be, as you see a login. As you see login. Login text. As you see a login text. Okay. So that is for the login page. So I just bold it for it to be more obvious. So you can decide not to bold yours, but it's just one of the best practices I talked about. So you can see the login text. I'll just copy it. So now, after we've seen the login, we verify that, oh yes, we are on the login page. So what are we going to do on the login? We can't just be on the login without any test, right? So these are the actions. So I enter my username, I enter my password, right? And I click on remember me and I click on login. Or you could say I enter my username, I enter my password, then I click on login. So these are valid scenarios because you can choose not to click check the checkbox that says remember me. So that's another test on its own. So like I said, you test multiple scenarios. You can say, oh, I put in my username and I click on login. I put in my username and password. That is a test on its own because sometimes the input field may not be working properly. That once you put in your username may not be able to enter. Maybe it is an error. Or your email, for instance, now if I put this as an email now, so this is a valid email, but if I do something like this now, this may not be a valid email. Right, so and I click on login. So what's going to happen? So this says the password field is empty. So these are cases you need to write down for more on that later. So back to the username or email address. So the next step is for us to input our username or email address. So I'm going to put it there now. So now we want to start with our action. Then action is when I enter my let's say my email in the so when I enter my email in the username slash email fields. Okay, so what is the next step we plan on taking after that? So we also plan on putting our password, right? Since as you can see it's asterisk, so this is required. So and I enter my password. So I entered my password in the password field. Okay. So and I click login. So so then so what should happen once we log in? So we should be logged in, right? Right. So once you are logged in, what should you do? At least let's say and I should so let's say this is our test case. So let me explain it. So given I navigate to the login page, so once we click on the link, right, we are going directly to the login page. Okay, and as you see a login text, so the login text is visible. So ignore this one for now. So let's use this one instead. So this is the login. So the login is visible, right? So we enter our username or email. We've entered our password, right? So for the login, when I click the login button, so as you can see, I choose not to click on remember me, right? So I click on login. So what should happen once you log in, right? So you should be logged in and you'll be able to see like the user dashboard. So I don't have an account with this website, but we're going to test it. Okay. So the first thing, let me just put test. So we've put in our username. See, mind you, I put rather than putting a full stop, I put a comma. Okay. And let me put a plus to be more obvious. So I put a plus there. Alright. Then for the password, I'll put 1 as my password. So these are tests. here you will define them. Okay, what do you use as your email field? So that is left for you to put in here. Okay, so that's left for you. So let us start with the actual results then. So given I navigate to the login page, so what happened? Yes. So so the login page opened successfully, right? Then I should see the login text. So based on what we have, the login text is displayed. Right. When I enter my email, see, you can write my email. So this when I enter my email comes in different versions. So you can see some version as maybe so you could see something like this, my email as. So you could see something like this, okay? So you could see something like this as this, okay? So why you may see something like this is that some people actually pass it to, this is very very common in automation. So because of more like you can pass it as variables, not just say variables, but you can pass it more like a parameter. So you can use it rather than just having something statically typed in your code. So this is very common in automation, not manual testing. But it's possible for you to put it in manual testing, but it's very common in automation. It's just to inform people that okay, this is what I have used when it comes to manual testing. But in automation, you are really really using the email address, right, for the automation. So my email is, so what happened to the email? The email is what is visible in the field. So similarly for the password, once I enter my password, so I enter my password as one, just one. Okay, so we say my password is, so now the question is this password properly visible or is being like an encrypted? So you can see we could view it, we could decide not to view it. So this functionality, the view and the that and this view and it hide is actually a test on its own, so you can decide to test it, okay? But in a lot of companies you will tend to ignore it. So this type of test, you don't need to write test case for it, you can do it manually like what I've done here. So you do it manually, okay? So this is not everything that you need to test. You are trying to save time also as a tester from your side because there are more critical things. So once you go more in the course, you learn how to prioritize test cases, which is very very important. What are the critical things that you need to learn how to test? So this one of the things you need to test. So how I did it. So you can see. So I won't write. I will use. So my password is displayed in the field, and I click the login button. So when I click the login button, what happens? So once I click the login button, so as you can see, the button is clickable. So that's why it is. So if it's clickable, so you can see it is clickable. Okay. So then I should be logging. But I am not logged in. Why? But this, remember, this is about actual results. So right, I should be logging. So now I was not logging for two reasons. The first one was this error, so many login fail attempts, right? Please try again in 1 minute. So meaning our username and password is incorrect. So now the error is too many failed login attempts. It doesn't really see too many login failed attempts. This is more like a developer. Oh, invalid error email or password is better than too many failed login attempts. So too many failed login attempts is good, but I see using email or password is better. So you can suggest that in your team if it is your team that is working on this feature. So copy it. So could see the error message. Now put it in double quotation. Is visible. Okay. Instead, it's visible instead of we should be logging. So this is the error message. I will write our same thing. As you see my dashboard, so there is no dashboard to be displayed. So this is it. So sorry. So this is our test case. As you can see, it's very easy to wrap your head around. So this is our expected result. This is our actual result. So this is what we got. This is our expected result. So now, given I navigate to the login page opens successfully. So this is a pass, right? This is pass. So now as you see a login text, the login text is displayed. So this is also a pass, right? When I enter my email in the username or email field, the email is visible in the field. Okay, this is also a pass. Similarly, my password, the password is also visible here. This is a pass. And I click on log. The button is clickable. Good. This is a pass. Now, then I should be logging, right? So the error message, too many attempts is visible. This is a fail. Now, in testing, you don't just conclude something as failed. Now, we actually use the wrong email address. Okay, this is actually called negative testing. But you learn about negative testing later on. So this is negative testing. I did negative testing where I should be doing positive test. So if you have to go back to your developer asks, okay, what email address did you use? Did you use the right email address? Did you use the right password? So that's why you need to be sure, okay, this is what I use, this is why I use. So that's why sometimes writing it here that as sorry as maybe a dot. So this is why sometimes writing it here is actually good. So you can, okay, this is what I use. But like I said, is it proper? Probably not. Is it useful? Yes. So this is what, so this, as you can see, this email address may have been deleted by the developer, or it can even be that the login functionality is not working as expected. So that is another one. So that is why in automation you don't just conclude that, oh, I've gotten it, then I've gotten it. So it is the developer that need to fix it, that I have my own test run correctly. So you need to sit down. There's something they call bug triage. So you learn about how to do bug triage later on. So you sit down with your colleague, you discuss it among yourself. That, oh, why has this thing failed? Okay, did I use the correct email? Is this email registered? Is the password correct? Is the password did I use the right password? So these are things that you need to check as a tester before you proceed to say, oh, you know what, I have checked and done everything for my side. Now I am going to hand over as a bug to the developer. So as you see the dashboard is on display. So this is also a fail. So as you can see, so this is how you write a simple manual test cases, and as you can see, it's very simple. So, and if you want to learn more, you could also learn about register. Now I click on the register page. Look at where it's going to take me. So look at, this is my register. So I click on register. Mind you, I got the login. So this is a bug, right? Because I clicked on the register and I got to a login, right? So why should I get a login when I click on the register? Now I clicked on the login and I'm on the login. So the login works, the register works. So this is a bug that needs to be reported to your developer. Now I clicked on not a member yet register now. So click on this 4 not found. So this is also a bug, okay? That needs to be reported back to the developer. So that is how bug works. So you would write a bug, oh this cannot be found, blah blah blah, and you tell them, okay, this is your screenshot. So you're going to create a screenshot for this page. And sometimes some developer prefer video, so depending on what your team wants, you do it for them. Okay, you would create a video for them and you just say, okay, this is how I did it, this is what I use, and I can see this doesn't work as expected, so can you fix it from your side? And once the developer do it, you're going to retest. So I'll click on demo form now. As you can see, this is the registration. So why is our demo form called registration form? As you can see, this is not user friendly, to be honest. Demo form shouldn't be registration form or event registration form. So as you can see, I don't know if the developer of this site intends to use it as also a registration form or a event form, so but it shouldn't be called demo form. So I hope the testing is clear to you, and I'll stop sharing my screen now. So you can stop. Yeah, I'll stop sharing my screen now. So I think that's testing in a nutshell. So that's what you do, just to compare actual results to expected results. So what are you expecting? What did you got? And you compare them together. I hope it is clear. So